Alrighty, beautiful and strong people, welcome back to the lesson 3 of the squat mastery. Today we're going to talk about lat engagement and brace. We already talked about the brace on the last lesson, but we're actually putting it together with the lat engagement because lats and brace are actually working in synergy to bring the strongest torso possible. Your torso is pretty much the pillar. Your lats and brace keep it unshakable. Now, the reason why the lats matter so much is because the lats are actually anchoring you between the bar and is pretty much the anchor between the bar and the torso. Okay, it prevents the bar from drifting forward or back. It helps to keep the center of mass stacked because if the bar is actually shifting around and we're having, let's say, a soft grip, the bar will actually start to move around. So watch, for example, in here, how I'm actually starting with the bar and with the grip very soft. Okay, so I can just move around it from this position. And if I'm going down into the squat, the bar will either fall back or it's actually going to roll forward. Okay, so what I'm actually doing to prevent that and to keep the bar stacked into me or make the bar become one with me is going to be to actually think about pulling the bar in. Okay, getting back in here because it seems like it always likes to actually skip in there. So I've been thinking about squeezing my lats or doing a pull with the bar into me, and that's preventing the bar from shifting or drifting, forward and back. And it's, of course, it actually keeps my center of mass stacked because the bar does not roll to my heel or to my toes in that kind of manner. So how we engage the lats? We want to think about scapular depression. So this is scapular elevation or shrug. We want to think about scapular depression, so bringing the scaps down. We're going to talk a little bit more about scapular depression and how to actually achieve it during the bench press mastery. But pretty much that's how we want to think about. We want to think about bringing our scaps down and locked into position. Okay? The easiest way you can actually create that is to think about pulling the bar into you. Okay? Because that's going to create that tension that we're actually looking for. Now, very important, if we're thinking about pulling the bar into us, we want to think about pulling the bar into us into a vertical direction. In order to do that, we want to make sure that the elbows are slightly under the bar and they're not flared. Okay, so we want to avoid doing this, like in a, let's say, weightlifting squat. We want to actually do this. We want to pull down and think about creating a long neck. That's what's going to bring that scapular depression and what's going to really engage your lats and really lock in your upper body position. And of course, keeping the grip firm, not loose or open, because if it's loose and open, it's going to go all over the place, and we do not want the bar to actually go all over the place. Getting back to some bracing fundamentals, I know we actually talked about that one in the last session, but we're going to really dive into this again so we can really strike the message home. We want to, first of all, create the muscular brace, and just after that, we're actually adding air. Okay, so we're inhaling through our nose and we're topping off with our mouth breath. We want to bring all that air into our belly. And once we have that pressure in there, we want to lock it in by creating and reinforcing that brace. It's very important that we never fully exhale, whether we're talking about unrack, whether we're talking about rebracing in between the repetitions. We want to keep as much pressure inside as possible. Okay, so if you finish off your unrack, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of air in there. Okay, you're just letting 20-30% of that pressure out so you can actually create space to rebrace again, but never fully exhale. A couple of drills that are going to help you to really prime your brace are going to be dead bugs, ab rollouts, and kettlebell bracing. Dead bugs are going to teach you the ribcage and pelvis position stack under load. In this exercise, it's going to be very important to make sure that you're actually pushing that lumbar against the mat. And as you're going with your hand and you're pretty much stretching your hand and your leg back, you want to hold that pressure in, you want to hold that stack. Another great exercise is going to be the ab rollouts, which I absolutely love this exercise because it really trains the brace against extension. Before letting the wheel roll out, you want to brace, you want to stack your rib cage to the pelvis, and as you're actually going with the wheel, you want to let your hands, you want to let your arms roll the wheel out, but you want to hold that brace in there. It's going to be a lot more difficult to do this exercise if you've done it incorrectly all the time, but this is how you actually do it properly, okay? And the last one, which is really going to teach your diaphragmatic breathing, is going to be a kettlebell brace drill, in which you grab a kettlebell, dumbbell, even plate if you want. For example, you put it on your belly and you're thinking about breathing into your diaphragm, breathing into your belly. So that's really going to teach you how to avoid that chest rise, how to avoid, breathing into your chest and bring more air into your core pretty much. And another drill, beltless squats, which really forces active bracing. In terms of belt, one of the common mistakes is actually over-relying on the belt. And when I'm talking about over-relying, using it pretty much everywhere. When you're doing the accessories, when you're doing the, your warm-ups, you're doing with the bar alone, with, one plate on the barbell, you want to really use the belt as more so a feedback to reinforce the brace. For that, we want to make sure that the belt is not too tight, but not too loose. Okay, a general rule of thumb, if you can fit like 2 fingers into the belt while not braced, that means you have enough space to actually be able to brace against it fully. Okay, so 1 to 2 fingers, it really depends on how big your fingers are. But 1 to 2 fingers in is going to give you like enough space to actually really expand that core in there and hold that pressure in there. So if you're squeezing the belt too tight, you're pretty much creating passive tension. You're literally not bracing, you're using the belt as a brace, and that makes it a lot more difficult to breathe, a lot more difficult to actually generate force coming from the barbell to from the floor to the barbell. And it's also going to expose you to some potential injury risk, especially around your upper back, because you do not have the stack of your rib cage to your hips. So another common mistake is, of course, breathing vertically, the chest rise. When your chest is actually rising, your brace is going to be lost, so you want to avoid that. Another common mistake is exhaling fully after the unrack. When you do that, the whole stability is going to collapse. And of course, if you have a loose upper back, the bar will actually drift around. So you want to actually lock in those lats, pull the bar into you, hold that tension in there, grip it firmly, so you can actually keep the bar into you and let it become one with you. Okay, so in summary, the lats are going to anchor the bar, stability, and bar path control. This is what's going to represent. The brace, don't forget about the muscular brace and the air pressure. Neutral head and ribs over hips will amplify the brace. Okay, so you want to make sure that your head is actually allowing you to hold that stack of the ribs and the pelvis. As performance points, the belt fit. Okay, so remember the 1 to 2 fingers into the belt. The drills, that's going to really help with the brace. And stability comes first. The power will always come second. So bring as much stability into your torso as much as possible. So the transfer of force coming from your feet, from your legs, all the way to the barbell can actually be transferred fully. I'm going to see you on the next one, in which we're going to talk a little bit more thorough about the lower part of the squat. So I'll catch you then.